Oh, and look at this! Roman Reigns assaulting Breakker, and Breakker was
Wrestling
headed to the ring.
fans, the WWE Universe witnessed a seismic shift last night when Adam Pearce, the general manager long seen as a mild-mannered corporate official, finally took a stand against the chaos unleashed by Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. For months, Raw had become a battlefield where these two powerhouses dominated without consequence, leaving innocent wrestlers vulnerable week after week. Pearce had watched quietly, enforcing rules and issuing warnings, but last night he reached the breaking point. What unfolded was nothing short of legendary, a decisive act of justice that sent a message to performers, fans, and corporate power players alike. No one, no matter how big or protected, is untouchable. The months-long reign of chaos. Before Pearce's dramatic intervention, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker had dominated Monday Night Raw with what seemed like unchecked authority. Every week, they destroyed opponents, turning matches into displays of raw power and intimidation. Wrestlers who challenged them were left battered, humiliated, and afraid to step into the ring. Fans were outraged, and backstage rumors circulated that nothing could stop the duo. What made the situation worse was the apparent inaction of WWE leadership. Pearce tried diplomacy, fines, and suspensions, but every measure failed to curb Reed and Breaker's dominance. The system meant to protect wrestlers had been circumvented, leaving Pearce to wrestle not only with the duo, but with his own moral conscience. The moment of truth. SmackDown shockwaves. It all came to a head during what should have been a victory celebration for Bronson Reed. He and Breaker were standing over Roman Reigns, who had just endured a brutal match, when Pearce's entrance music hit for the first time in years. The arena erupted as fans realized something unprecedented was about to happen. Pearce, long the voice of reason and authority, walked to the ring with a new intensity. Gone was the calm, diplomatic GM. In his place stood a man determined to restore order, enforce justice, and reclaim the integrity of WWE. The tension was palpable as Reed and Breaker suddenly understood that the rules had changed and consequences were inevitable. Pearce's transformation. Witnesses noted the stark difference in Pearce's presence. His suit was slightly disheveled, his tie loose, but his eyes burned with determination. This wasn't the Adam Pearce who relied solely on corporate authority to manage chaos. This was someone who had reached the limit of patience and had decided to act decisively. He addressed Reed and Breaker directly, his voice resonating through the arena. Months of frustration, moral conflict, and helplessness had been channeled into a moment of pure accountability. For the first time, it became clear that Pearce was no longer simply a manager. He was a force of justice within WWE, willing to put his own reputation and safety on the line to protect others. Uncovering the conspiracy, Pearce didn't stop at physical confrontation. He revealed that Reed and Breaker's attacks were not random acts of aggression, but part of a calculated pattern targeting specific wrestlers. The two had been exploiting backstage knowledge, using intelligence and planning to intimidate and harm select performers. While the original threats were never as extreme as portrayed in earlier rumors, the fact remained that they had taken advantage of their status to dominate the roster with impunity. The corporate blind spot, Pearce's revelations extended beyond Reed and Breaker. He highlighted how corporate structure had enabled their dominance by failing to intervene effectively. While there was no actual criminal conspiracy, his investigation revealed negligence at the highest levels, instances where senior officials had ignored patterns of abuse or turned a blind eye to repeated assaults. This systemic failure allowed Reed and Breaker to continue their reign and made Pearce's eventual intervention not just a moral choice, but a necessary step to restore fairness and safety to WWE. The loaded sock, symbolic justice. The defining moment came when Pearce, with months of pent-up frustration, took a decisive physical action, delivering a swift, non-lethal blow to Bronson Reed. Rather than glorifying violence, this act served as a symbolic enforcement of justice, an unmistakable message that recklessness and abuse of power would no longer be tolerated. Fans erupted as Reed was incapacitated long enough for Pearce to regain control of the ring and restore order. This act, though dramatic, underscored the power of moral authority backed by decisive action, and the idea that leadership sometimes requires direct intervention to protect those who cannot defend themselves. Setting boundaries. Addressing Braun Breaker. Pearce then confronted Breaker, offering him a choice: reform his behavior or face the consequences Reed had just experienced. This moment highlighted a key principle. Accountability is as much about giving people a chance to correct their actions as it is about enforcing discipline. Breaker, seeing the resolve and moral authority behind Pearce, made the decision to step back, acknowledging that unchecked behavior would no longer be tolerated. Pearce's approach balanced firm consequences with an opportunity for redemption, demonstrating that leadership is about both justice and fairness. Reinforcing the message to WWE beyond the ring, Pearce used this opportunity to address the entire WWE organization. He emphasized that performers must feel safe, that their well-being is paramount, and that abuse of power would have consequences. His speech resonated with both fans and wrestlers, emphasizing that leadership is about protecting the vulnerable and holding everyone accountable, regardless of status. Pearce's words reminded everyone that moral courage and principled action can override complacency or fear of backlash, sending a message that extended far beyond Monday Night Raw. The aftermath, restoring order. With Reed incapacitated and Breaker stepping away, Pearce turned his attention to the broader WWE environment. He committed to monitoring behavior, reinforcing safety protocols, and ensuring that wrestlers could perform without fear of intimidation or harm. While corporate mechanisms had failed to enforce these standards, Pearce's actions demonstrated that individual accountability and moral leadership can restore integrity even in the face of systemic shortcomings. His intervention became a case study in courage, responsibility, and ethical action within a complex organization. Legacy of the intervention. Adam Pearce's decisive moment will be remembered not only for its dramatic impact in the ring, but for its broader significance. He restored confidence in WWE's capacity to protect its performers, set a precedent for addressing abuse of power, and redefined what leadership looks like in a high-stakes, high-visibility environment. The intervention wasn't about spectacle, it was about principle, fairness, and demonstrating that even entrenched systems can be corrected when someone is willing to act decisively. Conclusion. A turning point in wrestling. In the end, last night was more than a single incident in the ring. It was a turning point for WWE. Adam Pearce, once a figure of bureaucracy and diplomacy, transformed into a symbol of moral authority and courage. By confronting Reed and Breaker, he sent a powerful message. Abuse will not be tolerated. Leadership requires accountability, and wrestlers deserve safety above all else. The audience witnessed a narrative that transcended performance, reminding everyone that integrity, courage, and decisive action can restore order even in a system that has lost its way. The world of wrestling and the WWE Universe is forever changed because one man finally decided that enough was enough.